So we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Barb Boschert. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Remedial Projects section at the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. This is the Cooper Road and Commerce Avenue Community Advisory Board meeting. It's the Cooper Road and Commerce Avenue Water Quality Assurance Revolving Fund Site Community Advisory Board meeting. It is Thursday, July 24th. We're starting at 6:02 p.m. Just to let you know who's on the line here from ADQ, we've got Kyle Johnson, who is our project manager. You'll hear from him in just a minute to do our presentation. We've got Tom Titus, who is the manager of our section. I don't know if Tom wants to wave to everybody. And then also I want to introduce especially our CAB members to Brittany McBain. She is going to be taking over from me as your community involvement coordinator for the site. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. We're just going to be dividing up our duties. As you guys might know, having been here for a while, that we've usually had several people here in the role, and now we've got her on board. So she's going to be taking over, taking care of you guys. So you want to say hi, Brittany, to everybody?
Sure. Hi, I'm Brittany. I started a couple months ago, and it's a pleasure to meet you all, and looking forward to working with you all in the future.
So you may see emails from her in the future, and that's who she is. So let's go ahead and have our board introduce themselves if you'd like. You want to start with Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike Evans. I'm co-chair of the Cooper and Commerce CAB.
And who's next? Bruce?
Hi, I'm Bruce. I don't think you can see me, but yeah, I've been a CAB member for, I don't know, quite a few years, 10 years or so.
All
I
right.
think it's more like 15, Bruce.
Okay.
And I know Eric's here.
Hi, I'm Eric Brown. I am with the town of Gilbert, in addition to being on the CAB.
And do we have any other CAB members here?
Pacer Udall, CAB co-chair since the beginning.
So glad you're here, Pacer. That means we have quorum. Yay. So we can carry out the rest of our agenda today. Yay. Any other CAB members here? Carrie or Annie? They may come in late. Is
So
there
we have-
anyone else online that would
there's
like?
4 other names on there that I don't recognize at all.
Yeah,
Hi,
anyone else
Patty.
that would like to say hi? You're welcome to. You're not required to, but if you'd like to introduce yourselves, feel free. Okay. If you change your mind, feel free to say hi. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Kyle for the presentation. Afterwards, Mike or Pacer, if you want to move the agenda along to our CAB business, we're going to be doing our yearly election of our CAB co-chairs. It's been a few years. Our regular meeting elections of our CAB co-chairs, which we have to do every time we meet. And discuss a thing, we're going to discuss what we want to talk about at future meetings, and then we're also going to approve our last meeting minutes. So I'll leave that to you guys to get the agenda moving after that. But Kyle, if you want to take over, and let me stop sharing the agenda, and you can take over and do the presentation.
Right. I think I need your permission to
Sorry.
share screen.
Yeah, sorry
No,
about
it's okay.
that.
Is it up there? I'm not seeing
Yeah,
it on
it should have come through. No, it's not up. Yeah, there you go. No?
Trying again.
It's there now.
Okay, good. Let me see if I can get my actual window that had the meeting on it back. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle Johnson. I'm an engineer and the project manager for the Cooper and Commerce Water Quality Assurance Revolving Fund site, which we'll be calling WQARF from now on because I don't have enough time to say that whole thing every day. Question, can anyone see the toolbar at the top of my screen? Is that blocking view or is that only on my view? That's only on me. Okay, good. All right, well, as usual, we'll start out with the WQARF process. And as you can see, I've circled in green the stage that we are in the WQARF process, but all WQARF sites start out as a preliminary investigation, which is conducted, and then it determines whether or not the site will be listed as a WQARF site or if no further action is necessary. Once a site is listed as a WQARF site, it then undergoes a search for potential parties that may have caused the contamination. It also has the option to start an early response action, which is when we start treating the contamination prior to the actual record of decision and implementation of the remedy. This ERA can happen anytime before we get to the record of decision down here. So the next step in the WQARF process is to conduct a remedial investigation, and that's where we characterize the nature and extent of contamination. Once that's been done, we also survey the local land users and water providers to determine what the future use of land and water at the site will be so that we can curtail remedial objectives to satisfy the future uses and current uses of both land and water. The remedial objectives are just the goal for cleanup. Once that's completed, we go on to a feasibility study. That's where we evaluate different technologies to find an appropriate combination of technologies to treat the contamination. That's done by doing 3 different alternative remedies. One is a reference remedy, then there is a more aggressive remedy, and then a less aggressive remedy. The study will select one of those remedies or a combination, any of them. After that, a proposed remedial action plan is put together. It's usually based on whatever remedy was selected in the feasibility study. This puts a tighter cost onto the remedy so that we can start attributing costs to any responsible parties that are still viable to recoup the money the state has spent and will spend. Once that's done, a record of decision is made regarding the remedy from the proposed remedial action plan. That record of decision is the state's final say going forward as to how the site will be cleaned up. So we've done all that, we've implemented the remedy, and we are now operating and maintaining the remedy. So today we're going to be looking at our regular solvents, the volatile organic compounds or VOCs that you guys are familiar with. That's PCE or tetrachloroethylene and TCE or trichloroethylene. Additionally, I'll give you guys a little peek at some work we did with per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which is PFAS. That's a huge category of chemicals commonly known as forever chemicals. There are thousands that fall under the umbrella of a PFAS. We'll be focusing on 2 of them that actually have a regulation that's been implemented, promulgated by the EPA. So regarding our groundwater monitoring, the most recent sampling event was conducted in April of 2025, just a few months ago. It was a limited event and only included 8 wells, but we've kind of dialed in how many wells we need to sample in order to get a good idea of what's happening in the groundwater. We do this to conserve funds. So what we found was very in line with what we've seen over the last 5 years. Westerly groundwater flow and PCE at concentrations below 20. We did not find any TCE above the standard of 5 micrograms per liter. The highest concentration of a contaminant concern we did find was 11.9. That was in a duplicate sample from MW124. Anyone who's really paying attention to my pictures will notice that I have that this graph doesn't actually line up with that concentration right there for MW24. This gray dot does. The white one does not. And that's kind of demonstrate the difference we can see, the variability we can see from the laboratory. Both those samples were collected out of the same bag of water, taken to a laboratory. One was 12, the other was about 8. So there's a certain amount of variability you see in any of these samples. So to put an image to what I just told you, this is what the plume currently looks like. The outer layer, everything within this outer layer is 5 micrograms per liter or greater. Everything within this smaller circular shape is 10 micrograms per liter or greater. And then we still have a little bit of contamination that we see above standard hanging out at the source area. Next, I believe we'll have a cross section, which I believe was a request from the cab during our last meeting. You folks wanted to see kind of this is the ant farm view. You know, if you remember as a kid when you're looking at your ant farm and they're digging tunnels, this is a cross section. And you'll see the same thing you saw in the previous image. Source area, a little blip, and then a larger plume down gradient of it. There's the source area blip. Here's the larger plume down gradient. I did use data from a sampling event in 2024, though, for the concentrations you'll see on this, because I had more wells included in that one, so I got more numbers for you to go in there. What you'll notice is very little difference between the concentrations. 10.4 versus 8 to 12 is the range we got more recently. Another thing to note is the darker color is the less permeable soils, predominantly clays and silts. These lighter colors allow water to flow a little better. And then your groundwater table is right about there. So on to the per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. This WQARF actually did this kind of across the board at all the WQARF sites we have. We went out and we looked at the source area for our solvents, and then we sampled upstream, downstream, further downstream, and then at the source. And we did it all for that PFAS, the forever chemicals I mentioned earlier. So what you'll see here are our up gradient sampling locations, our mid plume sampling locations, our source sampling locations, and then our upstream or up gradient sampling location. And I apologize for all the clutter on here. It's hard to find a figure that didn't already have concentrations put on it. So the results were hits across the board. The site definitely has some amount of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. What I've highlighted are the two that are regulated by EPA, and that's perfluorooctane sulfonic acid and perfluorooctolonic acid. And that's, again, two of the many PFAS. Those are the only two that have a regulation. Now, one thing to note about these compounds is the regulatory limit, the MCL, the maximum contamination level set by the EPA, is 1,000 times more stringent than what we have on our solvents. So we're looking at parts per trillion at this figure as opposed to parts per billion. And I will zoom in a little so you can kind of see what we have found here. But you'll see the source area or the results right there in the center of your screen. And those are the hottest two wells. Additionally, we actually found it upstream where we would not expect, nor have we ever really found solvents out here, but we did find the PFAS compounds. Granted, not as concentrated, but still present. And you kind of see what you'd expect. The concentrations deplete as we move further away from the source. So as I mentioned before, micrograms, or I'm sorry, nanograms per liter as opposed to micrograms, parts per trillion versus parts per billion. 4 is the legal limit. That's 4 parts per trillion. So what I've got highlighted here is the hottest spot we found, and that was right at the source. That's MW102. It's actually out there at on the parcel, the release parcel, and just a little bit downstream from the dry well that kind of caused this all many years ago. And that's for the PFAS compound. And we have the same thing for the PFOA compound, and same well was the hottest. Again, around 75 parts per trillion were discovered. And that is it. Oh, you know, I had one more little additional slide. I believe folks had requested to see what cumulative mass removal looks like. I think Barb found that in the notes from last time we all got together. And this is actually in regards to soil vapor extraction. This is the cumulative mass that has been removed from the system. And as you see, it kind of plateaus up here. and it's a little below 5,000 pounds. And these more scattered plots, that's the daily rate of removal. So the higher these little scattered plots are, the faster, the more mass we're able to pull out of the ground each day. So a higher up one indicates a day where we got more bang for our buck than these lower ones. So that's kind of a mass removal. And I will be honest, I cannot remember the context in which this was asked. So if anyone does, please feel free to quiz me on it or ask any questions you've got. So I know that was a quick one, but I'm looking forward to questions if anyone has them.
Let's start with our cab members, if you all have any questions or comments.
I have a questions about the, I think it's PFAS, the last charts. Yeah, so I see that if I'm reading that correctly, they're 40 and 20 times higher than the limit. Is that correct?
Yeah, about
The-
well, 100. If you see 100, you're 25 times the limit. So we're over 25 times the limit in our source area wells. We found a
From a
170.
from a
So that's,
haz-
yeah, 40-ish times the limit.
Okay. From a hazard perspective, these are how are these detected?
Laboratory analysis,
No, I
samples
mean, are they in
collected.
the well and
Oh, yes,
the
these are within the
water or soil?
groundwater.
Groundwater?
Correct. Within the ground. Yes, everything you've seen has been groundwater, other than that little chart I showed at the end for the cumulative mass removal. These are all groundwater monitoring wells.
Okay. Does that propose a health risk for the community in the area?
No, it only if you drink it. So all of the water providers are aware of the MCL, and it actually isn't implemented. I think let's say they have 2 or 3 years. Actually, Eric might know that better than I do, but I want to say it's 2 or 3 years after the rules promulgated for water providers to come into compliance with it. Don't quote me on that. I'm kind of going off memory here. And all the water providers that I know of are very aware of it. But
Yeah.
yes, if you were to have a private well we didn't know about and you were drinking this water over the course of 30 years, it's usually what these limits are based off of 30 years risk-based study. You could have adverse health effects or have an increased risk of health effects.
Okay. And as far as the drinking water, it's not in that.
It shouldn't be. I do not sample any drinking water wells at this site, but I would be willing to bet that whoever your water provider is has sampled for this compound. Luckily, it's usually cleaned out by carbon, is the most common way that water providers are treating this, which is a very standard treatment. And it's also likely that water provider wells are deeper in the aquifer than our monitoring wells. And then as far as I know, we don't really have any drinking water wells in the area. I know SRP is putting one in, but I do not believe it's completed yet.
Do we know the depth of these monitoring wells? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. I stuck some supplemental information in the back for you guys. Any my questions? Have them all listed right here, so you can see the depths of all of them. But the screened interval is, so this one would be you're pulling water from between 120 and 160 feet below the ground surface.
And our
This should
drinking
be-
water's coming from a deeper. It's what,
I-
4,500 feet.
I don't know the specs of the water provider, but yeah, typically it would be significantly deeper than that. Probably likely 400 plus feet down.
Just a reminder, we have 2 water tables.
I know we do.
A water table
yeah.
and a deep water table. And our drinking water comes from the deep water table.
Yeah, now the WQARF investigation hasn't done a lot of deep work, but my understanding of the lithology is there's a confining layer down between where the municipalities pull their drinking water from and what we see at this WQARF site.
Eric has his hand up. Go ahead, Eric.
Thanks. Let me start with my question, which I think the natural question for you, Kyle, is okay, these PFAS, PFOA limits are exceeded, and they may or may not be from the WRF site. I think this group would probably assume that they are, but that's not a perfect answer, I don't think. But I think the natural question is, what's the treatment for PFOA, PFAS? And would that be something that ADEQ through the WRF process is willing to engage in?
I can't promise anything, but I can tell you what I do know. And my understanding is that these compounds will come under the purview of WRF. They are not quite there yet. The state will likely set aquifer water quality standards, our state regulatory limits. This is my guess. Again, will likely set them equal to the EPA's regulatory limits, and then put these compounds under purview of WRF. That will likely entail starting a new WRF site. I don't think it's likely that these will be added to existing WRF sites. A lot of that has to do with it may not be the same entity may not be responsible for the existing contamination or WRF sites versus others.
Hey, Kyle, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, Tom, go for it.
So this is Tom Titus. I'm the manager for WRF. So we're investigating this PFAS as we speak. We've initiated some sampling. We anticipate drilling some wells out here to try to figure out what the extent of the PFAS is and what the source of it is. We don't know that yet. We're investigating it and we're trying to figure that out. And when we know that, obviously we'll report back and let you know in the next meeting or in a report once we have a better idea of what's going on.
Okay, because someone, Laura, asked a question, through the chat saying, what is the source? But it sounds like we don't know what the source is. And so what made, why weren't we testing for these things earlier? Why was it just this year?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your question.
Why is this the first time we're hearing of this? Were they just barely put in the groundwater, or why weren't tests for the PFOA and PFAS done previous to this?
Well, two reasons. One is the EPA just recently listed in the last 12 to 18 months that PFAS has an MCL. So that's one reason. Before that, it wasn't, we just can't go out and take samples for anything. There has to be a reason. So when the EPA issued the MCL for PFAS, that triggered something for WRF saying, hey, it's considered a hazardous substance, and now we're required to investigate. So obviously the first thing we did, we don't know where the PFAS is, so we went out and sampled all our WRF sites, and this is what this is, the initial sampling. And now that we've got those results, now we've evaluated them, and now we're going back and doing additional sampling at the sites where we have concern to figure out what the nature and extent of the contamination is and what the source of the contamination is.
And in general, like, how many WRF sites are there in the state? Like,
there's 37 WRF sites.
And is this typical of other WRF sites, or some not even show anything?
Some had some low levels, some or like this one had some high levels, and some had none.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, all municipalities, all water service providers under the EPA requirement had to test for the PFAS.
Yeah, and originally I think they were required to test, and then they had to start working on a solution by 2027, but that might have been pushed to 2029. I'm not sure on the year, but I know every water provider had at least like 3 or 4 years to figure it out, and then another couple of years to do something about it. But I'm hazy on the years and the dates.
Most of the water providers I've spoken with have been eyeballing this issue for years now. So they've seen it in their crystal balls coming, these MCLs coming to fruition, and they have already taken steps to start monitoring and seeing if they have an issue or not. Whether or not water providers are sharing that information with the customers, I don't know. But the ones I've spoken to seem to be investigating and preparing for it.
Eric, do you know anything about the town of Gilbert and what they're doing about this?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, what I'll tell you is, yes, we've been working on it for many years. We've been testing it for many years, looking at our source water supplies, and everything in our drinking water supply meets the MCLs that ADEQ, or not ADEQ, EPA has put forward. And in some cases, that means that we have to shut down some of our groundwater wells that would add these substances to our water supply in a level higher than the MCLs. So and additionally, you probably all are familiar that we're reconstructing our North Water Treatment Plant, and the process that we're putting in at the North Water Treatment Plant will treat for PFAS and PFOA coming into our drinking water supply, so that we can make sure that we're putting out as pure a water supply as possible for our customers.
If I remember correctly, the vast majority of our water comes from the CAP and SRP and not from the wells anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, the vast majority of it does. The one thing I did want to that this group is interested in making sure that groundwater contamination is cleaned up and doesn't pose a hazard to human health. And so I did want to ask Kyle, if you could, if you're familiar with the treatment process for these substances and why that may or may not be a feasible thing for us to do in order to get the MCLs back down to drinking, or the water quality in the aquifer back down to drinking water quality standards.
I do not know of a feasible technology you could apply at this site to the groundwater to treat these contaminants. I would hazard a guess that most of this will be handled as point of use treatment. When the water is ready to be used and extracted from the ground, it'll be treated at a facility at the ground surface. And the infeasibility of treating it is due to how small the amount you're seeing there. You know, like I said, you're looking at parts per trillion. I don't know a way. If this were like a DuPont plant or something, and you had, a lot of the really nasty places have millions. They're not in parts per trillion; they're in parts per billion. So they're, in the thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions is what we see. Those places, you can do things like you can add air to these molecules have a hydrophilic and hydrophobic heads. They like the interface between water and air. You can do things like bubble air into your water. They'll be attracted to the bubbles because they have that hydrophilic hydrophobic thing, and that'll bring them up to the surface where they can be taken. But that doesn't work unless you, like I said, millions. You'd have to see millions on this. At these concentrations, no, I don't know of anything you can do down there. I don't think, maybe someday when the technology advances, but I don't know of any.
So
and then once it's up to the surface, carbon will take care of the long chain molecules pretty well.
Yeah, so that was the only one that I'm familiar with that actually removes it, is carbon.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's been some examples of incineration, but so what just for this group that may not be, technically minded on that, what that would mean is pumping water out of the aquifer, running it through an enormous Brita filter like you have sitting on your counter, or the carbon filter in your refrigerator. And then that captures the PFAS and the PFOAs. And then for lack of a better purpose for the water, putting it back in the aquifer, like we used to do with pump and treat. And that's an enormously expensive proposition to do. So like you said, Kyle, for actual point of withdrawal out of the aquifer is the ideal state for that, because you can then use the water directly you capture these huge costs because we currently do not have to do that for any groundwater pumping that we do. We don't really have to treat it. We chlorinate it. That's it. For most cases, not for all, but for most cases. And adding that filtration, and then the media is used up, and then you have to replace it, and you have to dispose of the old media, which is costly. So just for this group, like I don't envision a future where we're cleaning the aquifer just to clean it. I feel like it's a cleaning of the water as it's removed from the aquifer for other uses in the future. I just wanted to kind of help lay some foundational.
Yeah, everything Eric said is likely. I can't see the future, but that's what I would predict.
If
One
I
question
remember
on the-
correctly, the town of Gilbert has a FAQ for PFAS on the website.
That's awesome. I'm sure. I hope we do. I think we do.
Yeah,
One
I think
question. So
ADEQ's got one too.
we have, so these levels are so low, it's parts per trillion.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's a significant issue? I mean, that these such low levels, it sounds like it's a significant issue that maybe we don't have a solution for it, but I mean, these were introduced and they're very low levels and we're way over those levels.
Yeah. So yes. So this is the numbers the EPA issued are very low, parts per trillion. Like they're 1,000th of what we're used to dealing with our PC and TC that we're all familiar with. But if they're not coming in contact with you, they don't hurt you. So if they're locked up in ground, we know how to treat it once it comes out of the ground. We just can't treat it while it's in the ground feasibly. So it is, yes, it is an issue because it's going to add a large cost to any water extracted from the ground prior to it being used to drink. But it won't hurt you while it's in the ground. So I guess the trick is monitoring any production wells that are producing drinking water will be monitored. And that's federal law. Will be monitored for it, and then steps will be taken if it's detected, and it'll be treated, or the well will be shut down, and a different well will be brought online. An alternative source of water will be found. So I don't see any immediate health risk from this, right? It's something to be aware of and to understand that it will exacerbate getting your hands on the water, exacerbate the cost on drinking groundwater.
Everyone on this Zoom call already has PFAS in their bodies. We've already been contaminated from it, just like we have microplastics in our bodies.
Yep.
It's the modern way of living.
Yep. I've been told dental floss is a great way to get into your body because your capillaries are so close to the skin there, and you ram dental floss, which is often treated with PFAS because, like I said, it has that hydrophobic. Water repels off it like a wax or something. So your dental floss is laced in it, and then you slam that in between your teeth, and it's a great way to introduce it into your bloodstream. But all sorts of products. And yes, Mike, I know people who've had their blood tested. So far, no one's been clean. So, and that's from using your hair conditioner and flossing and the clothes you wear and the nice Gore-Tex seats in your truck that are stain resistant. All that's PFAS.
All of the plastic baby bottles in the 50s and
Yep.
60s and 70s.
Yep. It's not one we're likely to get away from, really. We've already all been exposed. But I don't really know what to say about that.
Is there any comments from any of our other attendees or questions? And if you're welcome to place any questions or comments in chat as well. No. Well, the last slide does, almost the last slide, yeah, it does have our contact information. Of course, your CAB members, you know how to contact Kyle or me, and now Brittany. Anyone else that's attending here at this meeting, feel free to contact us if you'd like a copy of these slides. They will be on our website. It might be tomorrow, might be Monday. I'm happy to email them to you as well. Just give me a call or an email. As well as the recording of the meeting will be on the website tomorrow or Monday, Monday at the latest. So, and I am happy to give you a copy of the recording as well.
Hey, Barbara, can you resend the meeting materials to the CAB?
Absolutely.
The
Yep.
one, the item I got through, I think it was Virtue, didn't allow me to download. So
Yeah, I noticed it went out in Virtue. It doesn't tell you until it goes that it's sending it out in that. So I wasn't able to stop it doing that, unfortunately. So I wasn't sure whether you'd be able to open it or not, I'll be honest.
It's
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
happy to-
annoying.
Yeah, I know. I
Virtue
don't like
says-
it. So I will resend that for sure. Sorry about that. So we'll move on from the presentations. Thank you, Kyle, so
Welcome.
much. And let me pull the agenda back up. If I can, I'm going to have to put my glasses on.
I'm sorry. Can I ask one more question while we have Kyle here and
Sure.
and maybe Tom? And I think it is still on the agenda here. There's a preliminary investigation at Arizona Avenue in San Angelo Street, which is about a mile away. And I just wanted to ask if, because of their proximity, if this cab would be involved in any updates from that, or if there are, frankly, any updates from that as well, or if that's just going to be a completely separate process.
I think this sounds like a Tom question.
Is there a PI there, Tom?
There could be. I don't know. I'd have to look and see. I know we opened a couple of new ones, and that might be one of the new ones. But I don't have the answer to your question. I'd have to look into it. But it would be unrelated to this project, but there would be no reason why we couldn't give you an update once we know something on that.
Okay.
Eric, is it
All right.
on the Gilbert side of the street or the Mesa side of the street?
Well, I don't have good enough resolution on the map that I was provided, but it's about a mile away from this one. So
If it's
you
on the east side of Arizona Avenue, that's Gilbert.
right.
Would you repeat the intersection again? Arizona Avenue and what?
San Angelo.
San Angelo.
It's just
Why
north of
don't we look
Bedford.
into that for you, and then we'll get back to you tomorrow with an answer on that.
Yeah, that's fine. No rush. That's fine. I just wanted, this group should probably be aware, just because of our intense focus on this site. There's a lot of them in the state, and even in the valley. So
Yeah. And that
Appreciate any
area is
update.
over there. That area is over there by Costco and things like that, I think.
Right. Big apartment complex and some car lots that used to be there that are now being redeveloped.
Yeah, we can get you information on that. Okay, so we're going to move along on the agenda. Mike and Pacer are current co-chairs. Would you guys like to move it through the agenda? Would you like me to take it through for you? What would you like to do? It's up to you.
Whose turn is it, Pacer?
I don't know.
It's only been 2 years.
Right. I think the last time we met was in 23.
I'm happy to do something. We'll just all remember that the next person needs to do it. If it's a discussion, currently Mike and I are the co-chairs. And I think you said we had a quorum. So looking for any nominations for co-chairs.
And as usual, you all can still be co-chairs if you'd like, or if any of the rest of you would like to be co-chairs for the next year or two, feel free to put your name forward.
I guess I'm the only other cab member here, and
Well,
I would
Eric,
just like it to continue on the way it is with you two as co-chairs.
second that motion.
Was that Eric who seconded that?
Yes.
Wait, who said it first?
Bruce.
Bruce, and then
Bruce and
Eric
Eric?
seconded.
Mike, any disapproval of that?
In
Or-
for a penny, in for a pound. I mean, good grief. We've
right,
been
we
doing this
have-
for 20 years, Pacer.
That's right. All right, so we have the nomination for Mike and I to continue as co-chairs for Bruce, and Eric has seconded that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right,
Yay.
Mike will conduct the next meeting, so let it be written in the notes, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Eric. I forgot that you're a cab member now. I remember you're from the city, so my
No,
apologies.
All right, we have the minutes from I don't know if we can pull those up and see those.
I do have those, yeah.
Let's just review those and have any sort of discussion, and then we can move to approve them.
Define them. There we go. Oh, I did send these, but maybe you weren't able to see them. These were the minutes from September 12th of 2023. I'm not going to go through all of the minutes, but I did capture what we decided to talk about this meeting, and we did talk about it at this meeting. So we did cover what we wanted to talk about. So we just need to decide if we want to approve these minutes from 2023.
And as I recall, we made some changes, right? Because like up above, right? Didn't
Yes, we made some changes in the charter. We changed from meeting 4 times a year to meeting as needed, basically. It's a little more wordy than that, but saying at least once a year or in response to site activities or somebody requesting a meeting or a report being released. And then let's see, we changed just some wording saying the minutes will be available in the site repositories to saying the minutes will be available in the site repositories and on the website. And then we
just so it goes to the right place now, right? And when people want to
yeah, exactly. Oh, I just corrected an address, a website address for the website address for the page for the for this site. There was just an error for the website. I just corrected that in the charter. So those were the changes to the charter, which we approved, and then we had the co-chairs sign it.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then the rest of the minutes, I believe, were just the discussion of the presentation last time.
Okay. Any discussion about the minutes from last time and any changes that need to be made?
I looked through them for changes, and quite frankly, it's been so long that I'm glad that they are as detailed as they are, and I move that we approve them.
Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Bruce, thank you. All in favor to approve the minutes from the last meeting, say aye.
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 Minutes are approved. Is there any, is there any, oh, that's all right, that's all right. I was just thinking, next on the agenda was, maybe call to the public and then future potential discussions, right?
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up once I find it.
I know there's a few people here that aren't part of the cab necessarily, but we're glad you're here. I know that there's, Laura asked a question and Tom, has talked about, addressed that early on. And then, yes, there's an Arizona, PI Arizona, what's it called? Arizona Avenue?
Right.
Yeah.
In San Angelo. And so we look forward to hearing from that. And the town of Gilbert wants to be informed about that as well. And so maybe we can capture some of these comments, that have been made out here too, before they go away. Is there, for a future meeting, right? And in a year from now, or as those other conditions may apply, what would we be looking to see it? I mean, I would suggest we have another report from Kyle, right, on just the state of things and where things are. Whatever reports he did today would be great.
Well, when will Kyle test again?
Mute
I'm not
button
sure.
there.
Did he leave?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Kyle's here. Just being quiet. We'll be testing again in the fall.
Okay. So we could go ahead.
As my testing will be limited to the VOCs, but ADQ is pursuing further investigation for the PFAS compounds as well, and that will most likely entail the installation of additional wells. That'll be what you saw today from me was just a screening that we did. We just screened the wharf sites, and that was the results of the screening. So there will be more investigation on those PFAS in the future as well. But I couldn't speak to the time frame for all that. But VOCs, our tried and true nemesis, will be sampled again in the fall.
Okay, so we could potentially meet again, in the early summer or something like that, and that would give you time to.
Yeah, there'll be 2 sampling before the next summer. I'll sample in the fall and then again in the late spring.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so something to keep in mind, I have in my notes that this cab started in March of 2006.
So 20 years come the spring sampling, basically.
So I thought we might have a little party next spring.
Yeah, that would be great, I think, right? That would be fun.
Invite back some of the past members and
Yeah.
do it at the McLean Park Center.
Now, are any of you original cab members? Because I wasn't here then. Are any of you original?
I think Bruce, Pacer, and me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And Patty's not an original member, but she's been attending for God knows how long.
I knew she had been a while, yeah. Okay.
I'm not opposed to giving a presentation from the Wilderness Brewing Company. If you would like a really good presentation, a fun one.
I'd be willing to second that, but.
Well, there's nothing that says, I mean, we certainly can meet in person, right? So there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I'm actually really serious though about having some kind of marking the fact that it's 20 years since the cab has been working, for the community. So that would, and we can have a meeting, to go over what's going on, but then we can also celebrate the fact that you guys have been devoting your time to this effort for quite a long time. So
like a post-meeting celebration.
I don't know about Pacer, but I've become a grandparent since this thing started. So it's been going on that long.
I wish I was a grandparent. I got some kids that could have helped me with that, but not yet. So I've celebrated 20 years of my law firm just earlier in Cinco de Mayo. So I mean, it's been as long as I've started my firm, basically. Okay. So I think for a future meeting, we plan something after March 6th, because that's like spring break for Mike, right? And you probably, and
the last one I'll ever have. I'll be retiring after this next school year.
Well, what a wonderful teacher you've been. So I think we just maybe plan something again for the summertime, maybe if that works for people, and we go over, like a presentation from Kyle, similar to what we've had today, would be my suggestion. Whatever information that can be provided by ADEQ regarding, the EPA and PFOs and PFOSs, and maybe there's something more that can be presented about that, just so we be kept informed. If we don't get anything, even if we do get something, maybe there's something again just to be made aware of for this other potential site or whatever, if it's in Gilbert there, that, or whether it's in Gilbert or not, I guess it's in the community close by. It'd be great to just have an update or something on that.
Kyle also mentioned that the SRP was putting in a drinking well. It'd be good to know where that is, if that's in the project area.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, maybe just an update on that.
I can throw the map back up there and show you right about where it's going in.
Oh, off. Okay.
Yeah. More or less, yeah.
You can do that right now?
Yeah, if it's okay.
Sure.
That one less thing to worry about next time, huh?
Yeah. And then I think, that would be fun to have just kind of a get together in person again and eat something or whatever, right? I think that would be appropriate. Thank you, Barb, for that suggestion.
Mhm.
I may be better on Google Maps, but it's going in right at McQueen and losing the name of the road.
Guadalupe.
Guadalupe.
Right by
Guadalupe,
the
thank you. Yeah, it'll be on the
the,
northwest corner of
corner.
McQueen and northwest
in
corner.
that lot that's right next to where the senior center is, the assisted living community.
Yeah. And SRP has been informed that it's, close to a wharf site and all. They're aware. They're aware of the conditions via various conversations, emails, and the Arizona Department of Water Resources has made them aware as well.
Well, and it's right next to one of those sampling sites, right? That has the concentration.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not super hot, but it's above standard, above the regulatory limit at this 124. They are drilling here. Now granted, they will be substantially deeper than where we're sampling.
I do have a question off subject a little bit. There was some drilling going on this last week on Cooper and Guadalupe Road. Right where that blue dot is.
Right where the triangle is between the railroad tracks and the two
Yes.
streets.
Yes. I saw that just a few days ago. Do we know what's going on there?
Wasn't me.
That used to be an SRP well that they gave to the town of Gilbert, if I remember correctly.
Could it be being replaced? A replacement well installed? I don't know. I haven't heard it. This is the first I've heard of this.
Sorry, I wish I could give you an update. I'm not aware either.
Well, maybe I'll take a field trip tomorrow and see what's going on. It was the work happening recently?
Yes.
The last about 3 days ago, 2-3 days ago. I noticed
it. We'll see how busy I am. Maybe I'll have lunch over in Gilbert tomorrow. Take a look.
No, that would be interesting to know, right? They're doing a lot of construction, right? They've done some on Guadalupe and now they're going down Cooper Road. And so I tend to avoid it as much as I can, right?
Yeah, any construction, like the plague, keep away from it. But what I can say is standard operating procedure for installing a well is the Arizona Department of Water Resources, that it's permitted through them. And if a well is installed within like a mile of a wharf site, then ADEQ, then the wharf programming is notified. I've not received a notification for a well going in there. So
Well-
there's, I guess, a chance that maybe it may not be a well. No,
Go
and
back to the-
Tom just IM me the same information. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, so it may not be a well. It could be refurbishing something existing or something like that.
To go back to the beginning of this project, the way that this whole thing stumbled into existence is that the Department of Water Resources and the Department of Environmental Quality didn't know what each other were doing and permitted different things to take place where there was a site of contamination that was already known by ADEQ.
And I believe that's actually what started this policy of ADWR. Like they have a map and they have like a program that notifies them if someone tries to permit a well near a wharf site. I want to say it's within either a mile or half a mile of the boundary of the plume.
I'll just
I think it's
say,
a mile.
Mike, that your efforts have not been wasted because
That's why I get notified.
there was a conversation when SRP went to re-drill their well that was started by ADQ noticing that SRP was going to drill that well near the wharf site. So that whatever gap was there has been fixed.
It's been filled, right? So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
good.
That's positive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Once
good.
upon a time, SRP used to attend these meetings.
I recall that.
Well,
Adriana
and over the
Martinez,
years,
I think.
and over the years, I say we, but the ADQ and you, Kyle, and your predecessors and everyone else, worked with SRP, right, to get them to stop pumping from some of their wells or things like this, right, to so that we could do things. And so no, I think we've run the gamut on a lot of things that have been done with this cab and through this process. As you went through those earlier slides, the stages, it made me think about almost at every stage, different things that we did or had to do, or, other issues that came up, or even just to keep funding sometimes, right. And visiting the state and other things like that, and getting some of our, leaders to put I don't know if it was Tom from before, but our cab's been graced a couple of times by the upper echelon at ADEQ, right, for wondering how we got funding for our site, and
We had a deputy director come in and yell at us because
Yeah.
we managed to.
well,
keep-
because we use the word bureaucrat too much. And so, but anyways, we appreciate ADEQ, and this has been, we're glad to have been a part of, hopefully a long-term resolution to this site. All right, so just to conclude, then we'll have a report from Kyle again after a couple of testings, any information we can include, about any new sites around the area and anything, about SRP and these PFOSs and things like that. So any updates in that regard is, I don't think we have any other technical business, and then we'll just try and make part of it a kind of a 20-year celebration of, something good that's happened, right? And so I think that would be appropriate. Anything else, or do I have if we need a motion to approve the agenda for next meeting?
No, we don't need a motion. We'll just make a note of it.
Okay. Anyone else who'd like to say anything that hasn't said anything? Call to the public.
I think so.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second, if you need it.
Thank you, Eric, as a second, and the meeting is adjourned. Just again, thank you, everyone. I'm sure appreciate you.
7:01 p.m.
All right. Thanks all.
Thanks for
Good night.
coming tonight, everybody.
Thanks,
Appreciate
folks.
it.
Tom and Brittany and Barb. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Take
See you
care,
soon
everybody.
in 2 years.
Bye-bye.
Patty, I didn't see you, but hi and bye.
Um,